You say I make you nervous, a tragedy, I'm a beautiful disaster, a reckoning, you wonder how I got this way.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I'm Sunshinery. Make sure to subscribe.
Someone to clean up and tame. Oh, some things never change, never change. Oh, you think I would.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. So Rachel's on this like 2-episode kick a week. I mean, technically she's like splitting them up because one was 31 minutes, the other was like 25 minutes. So it's technically, if you put them together, one episode, but she's splitting them up. And girl, she's on a 2-episode kick, and I'm trying to keep up with everything and then some. So we are here to talk about Chapter 6, which she has named The Rogue Recap. So guys, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and after you're done subscribing, go back and hit that notification to all so you can get notified every time I post a video or go live. Alright, let's get into this Rogue Recap.
Hey guys, it's Rachel Leviss. We are back with another episode of Rachel Goes Rogue. Today, I'm super excited because I think we all just watched the Vanderpump Rules premiere and we have a lot to say about it. So I would love to get into it. I'm here with my iHeart team and they'll be helping me really start this dialogue now that I'm a step outside of this chaos.
Literally chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rachel, last night we obviously watched the premiere episode and there was one really big important thing missing. And I think we all know what that is, and that was you. So just like walk me through it. The intro song, Raise Your Glass, starts playing and you're watching it and just about to get into it. What does that song mean to you? Like, how are you feeling as you're hearing those intro credits and like seeing the montage of the cast and all that kind of stuff? Like, what's going through your head? How are you feeling? Tell me all of it.
The intro credits are probably like one of the most exciting things. I don't know, as a viewer, who knows, but as a cast member, it's an honor to have an opening credit, an opening title as a season is premiering. And so I thought that they looked really good. Like they were on point. And it's like, okay, I am watching this show and I'm really having to accept the fact that I'm not on it this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a decision that I really had a lot of weight in making. Like I didn't take that lightly. And so it's almost like a part of me grieving what could have been in a different parallel timeline. But I do think that I made the right decision by not going back, and we can keep talking about that as we go on.
I think this is a feeling that she will eventually get over. I think anyone that leaves the show will have that feeling, like when they see the next season and they're not in the title and all of that. I think she was very honest and nice about it too, saying that they did a really great job, because in my opinion, I thought they did a very amazing job with the opening credits, and it was so cool to see the behind the scenes, which if you have not seen the behind the scenes, check it out now.
We're filming main title, little opening credits, season 11.
Here to deliver today.
They now shoot it on a drone. It flies from Tom Tom to Something About Her to Sir, and then it's just like...
This is my favorite day of the year. I love shooting these.
I heard there's maybe confetti guns.
It's very calculated, very complex.
And it's really cool.
I think it's interesting that you're saying that there was like a little bit of a grieving in it. At any point of watching, like right when that song started playing, was there any part of you that kind of felt a little FOMO or like sadness?
A little FOMO, a little bit. Yeah, we can own that. But I don't know, as it went on, I just kept thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I'm not part of this.
You say you're not part of it, but like ironically, you are
I am.
the
I still am.
biggest story. storyline in this premiere episode, which is kind of crazy. But I do think that's like really important to set up because the timeline of this is all very interesting. So in the first episode, we established that it's been 3 months since the scandal reunion, all that kind of went down. So we have this timeline of it's been 3 months. James and Allie are in their house together. And if it's okay with you, I do want to ask you about that. Like you're seeing your fiance on TV, or ex-fiance, sorry, on TV with his new girlfriend. Like, did that hit anything in your heart? Like, how did that feel seeing him in quote unquote a healthy relationship? Like, how did you feel seeing that?
Real quick before she answers that question, I really think that Rachel thinks that she is still the biggest storyline, which, yes, she is part of the storyline, but reality is it isn't about her. Yes, she was one of the reasons that this affair took place, but again, there are more than just her and Scandoval that are affected. Ariana literally did nothing but be a friend and a girlfriend, and I think she forgets that her life was literally turned upside down, and this affects her life tremendously. And then you have all of the friends, like Sheena. Sheena was affected. She was a ride or die for Rachel and had her back, literally. And she was close with Sandoval, too. Then you have Katie, who Rachel even admitted she didn't care at all what she did to hurt Katie last season with the whole Schwartz stuff. And then we also have James, which though he has a new girlfriend, it's still hard to feel like, one, your guy friend would do this to you, and two, you feel like your friends were shutting you out because Rachel, and then finding out there were maybe some more underlying reasons to why. And we have everybody else that was friends with all of them that were affected too. For me, I really didn't think that this first episode had much to do with her, more than it was like the calm after the storm and people just trying to navigate and figure out what's next. But let's see what she has to say about James and Allie's new home and how she feels about that.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I don't think that that's a healthy relationship. Like, I don't think any relationship with James is healthy, especially knowing that we broke up and he got with somebody else so quickly after.
Yep.
There's no time to really reflect on yourself in a span of 3 weeks or 4 weeks, however long it was. The same problems, just a different person. And I'm feeling, I don't know why, I'm feeling a little bit like anxious, nervous talking about it because I don't know. There's a lot of emotions there. Like that was my fiance. That was somebody that I thought I was going to spend my life with. And we were looking at houses that had a pool, and, you know, we were ready to take that next step. And here he is in this new house with a pool and a backyard, and like, it's really nice. But, I don't know. I just thought it was funny that an airplane, like, they're in a flyover zone. So.
Really close to the Burbank airport.
Yeah. So, you know, like, I don't know. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Again, I've said this before, that though her and James's relationship might not have been healthy, and she feels like he is the same James and would have the same relationship with someone else with the same problems, I just think that's crazy. And again, everyone grieves, heals, and moves on differently. And some people need that time to reflect, some don't. And I thought too, yes, that James rushed into a new relationship when I first heard that. I did. But the more that I see him and Allie together, the more I see that Allie is great and great for him. And he is changing a lot. He isn't drinking again for himself this time, and he is showing growth. And I think her just reflecting too much on James is a problem, and how they were together and assuming that he is going to be like that with Allie, again, is just stupid. And it would be like me talking about my ex and being like, well, I know he when he was with me, he was unhealthy, we had problems, and he's going to be like that with his next relationship. That's just stupid to say. I just don't understand why she can't just wish him the best. And I mean, I can answer that too. I think she's just holding a grudge and has some resentment towards him and is a bit jealous of Allie and their relationship too. I understand she still has emotions, that she is still going through a lot because of it all. She's healing and she's moving on, and it's going to be different for her than it is him. And her standards and emotions are different than his as well. And let's just say this, being in a fly zone is so funny. Oh my God. It's called life. And the house is amazing. And if that is the only downside, then shit. It's really nothing. I guess I'm living in a shit area, according to Rachel, because I'm at the end of a runway. Though my area is beautiful. It's on the water. And literally, in my opinion, a very nice, amazing area. But because I'm in a fly zone, it's got to be shitty, I guess. Well, for her at least.
So, I mean, that's interesting that you say that you guys were looking at houses with pools. So do you think he's kind of like plugging and playing a little bit in the sense of he's like, okay, I'm obviously not with Raquel anymore, but he's using the same dream and just inserting Allie into this?
Yeah, I know this guy. Like, I know him well. And it does seem like...
I can kind of finish your sentence here because I do feel like it's a tale as old as time. Like we're seeing the same thing play out. Like he's sober again, right? Like California's sober again. So like he is having a repeat storyline in the sense that he's deciding not to drink again. How do you feel seeing that with Allie?
Like I said, it's you know, a new girl with the same problems. Like James was sober for a good amount of time. I think it was about 2 years. And when we broke up, he was sober. And so I realized that his issues weren't stemmed from drinking. It was something deeper that was unresolved. And so, you know, it's just going to be a repeat of patterns. Like I can see it from a mile away. And of course, Allie doesn't want him drinking. Like he's not a stable person when he drinks alcohol. I think cutting out alcohol is a great first step, but being sober and like feeling all of your emotions without the influence of any drugs is so important when you're in a recovery phase in your life. And then also going that next step and really focusing on like healing that inner child wound and that childhood trauma. And I know they've said that he's gone to therapy. You know, I won't be surprised if a therapy session is one of the things that they show on the show. It's just, I feel like it's a lot for show, but you know, that's just me looking in and giving my opinion on it. So
So first, who doesn't want a pool, especially in LA? That's like saying like you live in Florida and you're buying a house and you are going to look for a house with a pool because Florida has good weather and you kind of want a pool to jump in when it's hot. Like, that's just stupid in my opinion. And just because she was with James for a long time doesn't mean she knows him anymore. I know he feels like he doesn't know who she is anymore, or that she would be even someone to go and have an affair with her friend's boyfriend. I mean, do you see what I mean by that? Like, I really don't think she knows him anymore. And I don't think this is a repeat storyline for him, with him getting sober again. And maybe she just doesn't understand addiction and how that works. But sometimes it can take a few times for somebody to get sober and maybe like test the waters like he was, seeing like if he could have a drink or two, and he realized he didn't, and he was able to see that and realize that and be sober now again. They get stuck sometimes, and it's okay. I do think it's part of learning about your addiction and your issues and what is best for you. And I think she is seeing this very differently than a lot of us are. And it kind of makes it seem like it's a bad thing that he got sober again. I mean, I don't believe at all that this new girl, new problems theory that she has. And let's just say this. It's not her issue. She isn't with him. She doesn't have to deal with him. She doesn't want to deal with him. So then why does she even care what's happening with him? And I don't get what really she has to say about the whole sobriety and how he needs to be sober to feel his emotions. Everybody's different. Maybe she needs to be completely sober to feel her emotions, but doesn't mean he nor somebody else has to be sober to feel their emotions. And what I mean by that is we all know he smokes pot. And there are many people, I actually got into it in the comments with somebody about this as well, where they were saying, well, Lala's not sober because she smokes pot. Being sober is different for every single person. If you know that your addiction is drinking and you can handle smoking pot and that not trigger you to go drink and trigger those addictions, then that's not something that they would see as a problem, and they would still consider themselves sober because they're not drinking, which was the addiction. I'm no angel myself. I've been through it too, and I can say that I smoke weed and I do it recreational and medically wise. It helps with my anxiety, my depression, my epilepsy, and I still feel all of my emotions though I smoke, and I still have to live with all of that. Does it ease the anxiety with the emotions? It does. But I still feel everything. I still go through everything, and I still have to manage my life even though I smoke weed. What do you guys have to say about this? I know everyone's opinion about this is going to be different, and I respect everyone's opinion. This is just my opinion about it and something that I've lived through, and I would love to hear what you all have to say about this.
Yeah.
So looking in on it from a third party perspective, but also knowing a lot about the situation, do you at all see James and Allie making it? Like, do you feel like that can be a future for them? Or do you think a few years from now, we're having a very different conversation?
We'll see. Yeah, I think Allie is a very patient person. She reminds me a lot of me and I think there's a motive in her to help. And I think time will tell. You know, he is older now. He has more life experience. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of growth there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. My advice to Allie would be don't fall in love with the potential of somebody, because you're going to be let down, and you could just focus on yourself and really develop yourself so that one day you can find someone who is on that same level and has done the same amount of healing. Yeah. So there's a healthy relationship there.
Why are they even asking her if James and Allie are going to make it? I think, though it is a we will see matter, it's a we will see matter for everyone. And it's not a bad thing. It's life. And unfortunately, things happen, things change. And again, she isn't part of it. It doesn't affect her. So let's move on from the James situation, producer ladies. That literally was a 20-second clip of them building stuff at their new house. And here we are dwelling on it with her. Like, I don't get it. And I don't think that Allie needs any advice, especially from Rachel. And I think if anything, Rachel needs to take her own advice. I also don't see the similarities between Rachel and Allie, and that's just me. But I will say they both were and kind of are a bit shy. But that's really it with similarities. That's what I see, at least. Let me know what you think. Let's just keep going and see what else she has to say, though.
I love that you're there right now, that you've learned that. You know, like that's a very mature thing and self-aware thing to really understand and come out of such a at the time, a toxic relationship and getting that understanding.
Yeah. I've I've done a lot of therapy, like
Yeah.
intense therapy. And I've done a lot of reflecting on my patterns in my relationships and looking at the things with James and then looking at that relationship with Tom and seeing what was overlapping. And for me, this affair, it was kind of manifesting in a different way. Like I didn't see the similarities when I was in it, but as I've been able to take a step back and look more clearly at it, I can see it for what it is. Like it was that
Yeah.
potential. Like I was in love with the potential of us having a real relationship out in the open and not in secrecy. And I didn't even see that as a pattern until I was able to remove myself from the situation.
Totally. So let's go back to the timeline of 3 months. I'm going to probably bring that up a few times throughout here because I just want to know what like the process is. So 3 months has passed by. Tom and Ariana are still living under the same roof, which by the way, I cannot get more flabbergasted at the condition of each of their rooms. I need them each to clean up their rooms, please. Put your clothes away, clean up your room, tidy up. I really need you to do that, especially when you know that cameras are coming in.
Agreed.
Yeah, right? So
I'm sorry, I had to stop here. What is so hard to believe that Tom and Ariana were still living together? Why is this producer lady so flabbergasted? It's not hard to understand, and I was glad that people got to see a better perspective of it from that first episode, and we will get more throughout season 11. Ariana was there and Tom was filming, and shortly after that, literally shortly after that, she then started staying in an Airbnb throughout Dancing with the Stars, and he was on tour, and they really weren't there when each other were there. And when they were, she explained how she communicated everything through his assistant, and she doesn't speak to him at all. And it's a big enough house that they have their own areas. And again, these are tough times. And how is it freaking fair that she, of all people, had to be the one to leave the house that she also paid house half for, and it was all because her ex cheated on her and had an affair on her with her best friend? Do these people really like hear themselves? Like, she would have to not only still pay her half of the mortgage, but also then the rent for wherever she is then renting. And I also know with court stuff and what they consider abandonment, he could easily use that against her, especially now that they have a case that she left and went elsewhere, even if she was paying both the mortgage and the rent in that situation. Ariana did what was best for her. She had a lot of people that were behind her, that understood, gave her great advice, and she chose what was best for her at that time. I really don't get what is so hard to grasp, and I bet if this producer lady was in Ariana's shoes, she might have a different perspective and feel differently about how she feels about the situation. Yeah, this kind of irritates me that people just don't understand and act like it's not normal that they're still living together. It's normal for divorced couples to live together until the divorce is finalized or one leaves, etc. It's their choice, their issues, and people all handle things differently. Let's say this too. Katie and Tom Schwartz, they lived together after they called their marriage quits, and it was a while before Katie actually moved out, and then Tom moved out, and then they sold the home, which, I mean, that happens. It's not uncommon, and people think this is such a, uncommon thing for people to still live together. It's not really that uncommon at all. Especially now with everything being so much more money and harder on society too. And the whole clean your room thing, hello. They were all going through their own emotions, and emotions have a lot to do with how you want to do things or your cleanliness, all of that. It's called depression, anxiety. I mean, Rachel should get it. I'm pretty sure, too, that maybe Ariana wanted to make sure that all of her things were in her room so that Tom didn't have access to them as well. And yeah, it can get a bit cluttered. I just think that was just one more petty-ass comment, but regardless, let's see what she's going to ask Rachel.
Okay, so aside from that, Ariana makes a comment that she knows you guys are still together because you're sending packages back and forth to each other, and she's seeing them come in the mail and all that kind of stuff. This is kind of the first time that we get a mention of you, you know, like that you're very much a part of the storyline on this new season, and that you're still sending stuff to Tom and the lightning bolts and all that kind of stuff. So how was it seeing that and Ariana mention that?
It was, you know, it was hard to see because I'm in a different place than I was back then. And it's a weird time warp when you're watching a show like this and living one reality in that moment. And then months later, when the episodes are airing, you're living in another reality, but you're also reliving those moments that they captured on camera. Mm-hmm. And so it's a nod to my younger self who was still in love and infatuated. And I feel like with my apology that I made at the reunion, I had all the right intentions and I was extremely sorry. But there's another part of an apology, which is your actions afterwards. They have to align with what you're saying. And by sending him letters and being in contact for a good amount of time, I still, you know, like want to take this time now to apologize again, because I am in a different place than I was back then. And I can see things a lot clearer now. And also you saw the part where they did the flashbacks, mm-hmm. and I got emotional watching that, you know, like I recognized that my behavior was so hurtful to her.
I feel like there's like, not that you had an aha moment, but in a weird way you kind of did. You were able to see the situation from like a third party lens, and it kind of, I don't want to say trigger is the right word, but it is something that like triggered something, a reaction in you. And I can tell right now that that's, you know, seeing those scenes and seeing, okay, during this time I did hurt somebody really, really bad. And I'm still mm-hmm. kind of putting salt on the wound a little bit.
Yeah. And it's that part of me really wanting to take accountability, because that is a part of true healing and growth, mm-hmm. and how we can resolve these painful memories that we're having to address head on with this show. And I just hope that the listeners listening and the people that were involved know that I have done so much work on myself, and I've really taken that time to have that introspection to understand why I did the things that I did.
I think that's like a really grown up way to look at it.
I do think she's part of the storyline, yes, because she was actively pursuing him at that time. This was 3 months after the affair. I also want to say that I do think it was very big of Rachel to apologize here and take some accountability for her actions. And she does have a better perspective seeing the hurt she's caused others. And I can commend that. And I think with more growth and time, the wounds will heal. But it takes a long time, because this is a very hurtful pain she inflicted onto people. And it's not just something that's going to change overnight and they're going to want to talk to her. So that's how I feel there. I do think she did good with her apology here.
I don't mean to take a tangent off from the premiere, but it did make me think about something that like obviously came out and is all over the news right now. And
the Nick Viall podcast with Tom. Let's talk about it.
Because it's just, I mean, and thank you. I mean, just from like a fan of Vanderpump Rules, like I really appreciate the fact that you're like taking a second to like take accountability for your actions, and also, you know, take a second to just re-apologize from like, I think also an authentic standpoint. Like, I think when you guys were doing the reunion, it was too fresh for you to even make that kind of statement.
It was so fresh. And I really wanted to allow everyone to get their thoughts across. And like, it was such a new, fresh wound. And I knew that people wouldn't really be able to hear what I had to say anyway, because all you see is red in a situation like that. And now that some time has passed and we have been able to process through everything.
At the time, you weren't even able to process it. Like, you were sorry, but you also weren't able to understand why you were sorry, because I think at that time you were also like, I'm in love with this guy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I'm also in love with this guy.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Like, so not to make it right or whatever, but it's just giving, you know, a reason behind it. I just do want to give you credit where it's due in the sense that you were taking the second, because I feel like now you're in a very different point in your life where you're able to reflect in a way that you've done the work. You're able to reflect and you're able to actually understand the situation and process it. But someone who hasn't done that is Mr. Sandoval. And
it's very obvious.
Oh my gosh. It was very, just watching that Vial Files interview, it was just, oh my Lord. I don't even know what to even say about it other than he still can't take accountability for his actions. He did mention you in a weird way. He was kind of like blaming it on you and also blaming it on Ariana. And he's like, well, sorry, Rachel was like thinking I'm the hottest person in the entire world. And also sorry that Ariana hasn't paid attention to me in 10 years. It's like, no, dude, it's on you. But those are just like my viewpoint of it. But how did you feel the interview and stuff?
I hated what he said. He said someone like Raquel, some 20-something-year-old doing that whipped cream bikini thing, like Varsity Blues. And I was like, okay, what is this reference? And I YouTubed it and I was like, my gosh, like what? And we've already talked about it on my podcast, like how this came to be our first moments that really shifted the dynamic into something more of a love connection. If you could even call it a love connection. But the way that he was describing it really made it sound like I was the temptress and that it was this like seduction that he fell into. I can take ownership of my part in that because it was a choice that we made every day. And it was a really bad decision. But I just felt like he was putting a lot on me, saying it was my fault for seducing him, which I don't think is right.
For those wondering, I will be doing Nick Vile's podcast right after this. So if you are not subscribed yet, then make sure to do that now. I will again commend Rachel here because I do think that Tom was being a little fuckboy and blaming everyone else but himself. And I do think she takes accountability here and she understands it was the both of them. And I respect her a bit more for this. I really do. I also am multitasking and I saw this thing in my friend's live that another friend of mine posted, and I wanted to read it to you guys real quick. So it's song lyrics. So if you can name the song in the comments below, you get a prize. I don't know what the prize is yet, but you get a prize. So it goes, thought I'd end up with Sean, but he wasn't a match. Wrote some songs about Ricky, now I listen and laugh. Even almost got married, and for Pete, I'm so thankful. Wish I could say thank you to Malcolm, 'cause he was an angel. One taught me love, one taught me patience, one taught me pain, and I'm so amazing. I've loved and I've lost, but that's not what I see. Name it below and you get a prize. I thought that was profound, and I think it goes perfectly with this. I think from all relationships, whether it be James or Sandoval, she has learned a great lesson here, and hopefully that lesson also will provide her with opportunities to find what she is truly looking for in life, and also find herself too in the meantime.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think he also put a lot of blame on Ariana, saying that she belittled him and basically caused him not to have any self-worth. And it's just like, come on, can you just please say that you're sorry and that you're at fault, like just take a little bit of accountability and stop blaming it on other people that are, around you.
Yeah. And if he got good therapy and some introspection, he would come to the conclusion that your self-worth isn't based on your significant other. You can't get your self-worth from somebody else. It has to come from within you.
Totally.
So,
Again, I think Rachel and the producers make very solid points, and it is very apparent that Rachel can see her faults, and she is slowly getting there where she can then be more empathetic towards the pain and what she did. And I think she's doing good. She is responding very beautifully here. I will say a lot better than Sandoval, who just keeps blaming everyone but himself. And I think like Rachel makes great insight here with, you cannot rely on your partner to bring you self-worth. You have to rely on yourself. Very beautiful point, and I wanted to give her some credit.
Totally. So I had to just go off on that tangent for a second, but I do want to bring it back to the premiere. And we do have this scene where James says that his feelings are hurt. And Allie asked James if he could ever be friends with Tom Sandoval again. And so I want to ask you, could you ever be friends with James again?
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
No.
What about Sandoval? Could you ever be friends with Sandoval again?
No, I can't. No.
Those two are iced out.
No. Yeah, no. There's
You're like,
there's
never
a reason.
on the 11th of ever.
There's a reason why I have a no contact policy with James, and there's a reason why I didn't want him to have Graham. And, thank goodness that Graham is doing well and, debatably thriving. But, no, like I don't need James in my life. That would be, just not good for my well-being. And then with Tom, oh man, it's so clear to me now, but back then, like when I was still in communication with him, but trying to distance myself and not call him from the meadows. And this is a landline conversation, by the way. Like we have scheduled phone times in this inpatient trauma therapy center. Then if I didn't reach out to him one day or 2 days, he would be upset by it and really kind of take out his frustration on me. So it made me feel like I had a responsibility to maintain that his emotional needs. And oh man, like the amount of times that Tom called me selfish while I was in the meadows and that I'm running away from my problems. And I'm dependent on this place that's basically an assisted living facility, like really guilt tripping me and saying that I left him to deal with all the fodder and I'm just running away. That just reveals the type of person that he is, and knowing how important mental health has become in my life and how much of a priority that is to me. There's no question that Tom and I will never, ever be friends again.
Okay. That is very fair, but it was a question I had to ask.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting though, like the amount of times that the cast has mentioned processing their own trauma, like in reference to Lala saying that she had a lot of trauma to process with her past relationship with Randall. Lala commenting on Ariana getting into a new relationship so quickly and not having enough time to process that trauma with Tom Sandoval. There also was mention of Tom Schwartz's emotional trauma that he experienced with Tom Sandoval over the years and how that's impacted him. Yet, if I go away to process my emotional trauma, I'm running away from my problems. I don't know. It doesn't add up to me.
First, I want to say, I don't think she was running away from her problems per se, in the sense that people think that she was running away by, getting help and going to the meadows. I think they meant running away from her problems by, you signed a contract to be on the show and to show every aspect of your life. And the second it got too hard, you ran from that. That is what they mean by you ran from their problems, where like when it got hard for Lala with the Randall situation, she's still stuck with it. She's been able to show her progress, explain what she's been going through, show the emotions of everything she's been going through, and not, gone off the show to, not show that side of what she's been going through. It's going to be the same with Katie. The divorce happened and we get to see her processing this trauma in her life. Same with Schwartz and even with Sandoval. Like, we are seeing how he feels because of everything he's been through, because of Sandoval and his choices and Sandoval involving him. So I think when they mean running away from her problems, they mean it in the sense that she should have came back to the show and showed how she was dealing with these traumas. That's what they meant by that. Now, Sandoval. This is where, again, I am calling him a narcissist. It just proves to me even more, and I am not a medical professional, but to me, he has narcissistic personality traits. It's very clear to see. She's there getting help, and he's telling her that she's being selfish. Like, come on now. I do want to say some narcissistic personality traits has a very fragile self-esteem, Sandoval. Always craves for the best in everything, Sandoval. Easily disappointed when expected importance is not given, Sandoval. Impatient, angry, unhappy, depressed, or has mood swings when criticized, Sandoval. Looking down on others as inferior, Sandoval. Lack of empathy for others, totally Sandoval. Pretending to be superior to others, again, Sandoval. Being overly boastful, extravagant, one's own achievements, Sandoval. And lastly, monopolizing conversations, Sandoval. Those are just some traits, and I did want to point those out because I think she's absolutely right, and I'm glad that she got to see that side of him, because I wouldn't want her to have jumped into that relationship after everything that happened and her working on herself to then fall back into the same old trap. I think she is doing a good job with the progress that she's made and working on herself. And listen, it's just words. If they meant like you're running away from your problems by not going back on the show, those are just words. Don't let those bother you. You are doing what you need to do for yourself. And in the end of the day, that's what you will remember in life. You will not remember if you did another season of Vanderpump Rules, what would have happened. That wouldn't be even a thought in your mind. You will be thinking about, I did what I needed to do for myself to be this person that I am today, when you look back on your life later on.
Yeah. And speaking of not adding up, on the premiere episode, we see Lala have a complete shift of heart, I guess, in the sense that she decided to send you this voice memo on Instagram and was basically kind of the only one on the episode that I wouldn't even call it having your back, but opening up that bridge to speak to you, and in a weird way being empathetic towards you. She didn't want you to wear the mistress badge of honor the rest of your life, and she was kind of being really empathetic towards you. Personally, for me as a fan watching it, I was just kind of this is a little bit of a storyline, but I did want to hear your perspective of it. I also want to know, being on the receiving end of that message, she did say that you listened to it. When you listened to that, how did it feel? And were you receptive towards it? Did you respond?
When I was at the Meadows, I didn't have access to my phone. And at that point, when she sent me the voice memo, I was in that treatment facility, and my publicist has access to my Instagram account. So she got the notification that Lala reached out to me via Instagram, and she listened to it. And so
it was even you.
It wasn't me. No, not at that time. But yeah, I did listen to it when I got out of the Meadows. And I immediately I just felt like I didn't trust Lala and her intentions. But as I'm watching this season and this episode, immediately I was like, oh, she did it on camera. Okay. That makes a lot of sense because it's allowing for the dialogue to take place for me to come back into the group.
Yeah.
It allows for that integration to happen. And at this point, Vanderpump Rules did want me back, and they were trying to figure out ways that I could reintegrate with the group. And so I think first and foremost, it was a way for that to happen logistically. And I think, I think Lala did have a lot of trauma with Randall in that unhealthy relationship. And I don't doubt that she had those feelings of being isolated and feeling like she didn't have anyone. That's what she says, prompted her to reach out to me, seeing me open up about that in the last 5 minutes of season 10. But I also can see it for what it is. I don't think just knowing that she didn't reach out to me on her own time and it not being related to the show and filming tells me everything that I need to know. And also seeing it from a different perspective, not being in that drama anymore, I can see how she's moving around this concept that I learned. It's called the Cartman triangle. And basically there's 3 points. There's the victim, there's the rescuer, and there's the offender. And so I could see how she was moving across this triangle, first as the victim, relating to the situation that I was in, and then as the rescuer to reach out to me. And then also you'll see her at the end telling Ariana that she reached out to me, and that's where she's being the offender. And this dynamic causes drama.
So then just from a surface level perspective, so you did not know prior to watching this first episode that was on camera?
No, I didn't. No.
I know everyone is going to have their own thoughts and opinions on this, and these are my thoughts. I really thought that Lala was being empathetic towards Rachel. I think Lala is going through something in her own sense, getting over the Randall situation. We've seen her in past seasons be isolated out of the group, be held back, withholding information from people, and just not feeling like she can trust people. And we've seen what she's gone through to understand that she does have empathy for Rachel. And whether this Carlton triangle is true or not, in the sense that she was, the victim, then the rescuer, but then being the perpetrator because she told Ariana, I think she wanted to be, in that sense, a good friend to let Ariana know, hey, these are my feelings right now. And yes, I did send Rachel a voice memo because I am having some empathy for her. I am understanding where she is feeling when she said this. It reminded me of that. And I've had time to reflect on that, to think about it, and to see like a side of her that I don't want her to wear this badge for the rest of her life, because I know what it's done to me and how it's made me feel. And just seeing and hearing the things that people have said about me, how it's impacted my life. And I really truly think she meant that. I don't think she wanted to be best friends with Rachel. I really think she just wanted to reach out and let her know, listen, you'll get to a point in your life where you will not have to wear this guilt on you forever. And I really, truly believe that. I know some of you don't believe that Lala was being empathetic or true and believe it was part of a storyline. I can see where that comes into play and trying to get Rachel at that point back on the show. But I really, in that sense, and watching Lala and watching her on her Amazons and getting to know her off of Vanderpump, I really truly believe she was being empathetic and going through her own issues, but letting Rachel know too, knowing that she is going through her own issues, that you don't have to wear this guilt on you forever. What do you guys think? Let me know down below.
So then when you listened to it for the first time, what was your initial gut reaction? Oh my God, you gave me the cringiest face.
Yeah.
For everyone that can't see.
Well, I don't know. I feel bad saying it, but like, I just don't trust her. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm like, immediately I was like, no.
And you don't have any
no.
reason to trust her.
Right, because there has been so many instances like she's hated me since the moment she met me for no reason, and she has not held back her feelings about me throughout the seasons. I feel like frenemy is a good descriptor word of Lala, because we do get to a point where we can see eye to eye, but it doesn't usually last long. And it seems like she was like the one person that we just could not come to a solution for whatever reason.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah. So when I got that voice memo, I think at first it's nice to hear that somebody can empathize with you, especially on this cast. Yeah. But ultimately I was like, no, red flag, like this doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And okay, so I don't really actually know the answer to this, but what is your relationship with Lisa currently right now in your life? Like, do you have a relationship with Lisa or no?
No.
So then, because it's interesting, because you see this scene with Lala and Lisa, and they're both extremely empathetic towards you. Lisa's like, oh, you should reach out. Like, she probably would love, whatever. And then you have Lala who's like, I just want to make sure she's okay and that, she doesn't live with this forever. So seeing these two people who are not close to you whatsoever have this conversation about you, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like they're really pushing for me to come back this season, and they're really trying to find a way to make that happen. And I feel like there's a little bit of truth behind it. There's that authentic part that I think Lala, like I said, could relate to, but I think, seeing Lisa so empathetic to me, and this is before all the Graham stuff. So sure, there was a piece of that was authentic too, but just knowing that she's an executive producer on the show, it's very apparent that this conversation happened so that we could,
she's also driving a storyline.
Yes. Yes.
I know everyone is going to have their own thoughts and opinions on this, and these are my thoughts. I really thought that Lala was being empathetic towards Rachel. I think Lala is going through something in her own sense, getting over the Randall situation. We've seen her in past seasons be isolated out of the group, be held back, withholding information from people, and just not feeling like she can trust people. And we've seen what she's gone through to understand that she does have empathy for Rachel. And whether this Carlton triangle is true or not, in the sense that she was, the victim, then the rescuer, but then being the perpetrator because she told Ariana, I think she wanted to be, in that sense, a good friend to let Ariana know, hey, these are my feelings right now. And yes, I did send Rachel a voice memo because I am having some empathy for her. I am understanding where she is feeling when she said this. It reminded me of that. And I've had time to reflect on that, to think about it, and to see like a side of her that I don't want her to wear this badge for the rest of her life, because I know what it's done to me and how it's made me feel. And just seeing and hearing the things that people have said about me, how it's impacted my life. And I really truly think she meant that. I don't think she wanted to be best friends with Rachel. I really think she just wanted to reach out and let her know, listen, you'll get to a point in your life where you will not have to wear this guilt on you forever. And I really, truly believe that. I know some of you don't believe that Lala was being empathetic or true and believe it was part of a storyline. I can see where that comes into play and trying to get Rachel at that point back on the show. But I really, in that sense, And watching Lala and watching her on her Amazons and getting to know her off of Vanderpump, I really truly believe she was being empathetic and going through her own issues, but letting Rachel know too, knowing that she is going through her own issues, that you don't have to wear this guilt on you forever. What do you guys think? Let me know down below.
I do want to bring up something that Lala said. She keeps playing when you said in the reunion, if I don't follow what Tom has told me, I don't feel like I'll have anybody. Mm-hmm. And so listening to that back, like that was like a very vulnerable part of your life where you felt that you had to listen to this person because if you didn't, you wouldn't have anybody. So like hearing Lala repeat the words that you said, does that bring back any emotion to you?
Yeah, it was a very scary moment for me in that interview, Cher, because by revealing the truth, or at least starting to reveal the truth and not sticking to Tom's story that he wanted, you know, I saw it as this ultimate betrayal to him. And I think it's, you know, like it's sad to think like that was really my mindset. Yeah. But I did feel so isolated. I had lost all of my friends. It felt like my whole world completely turned upside down and I didn't know who to trust because the people that I was talking to every day, I was just filling them in, like telling them all the information that I've been keeping for so long. And then it was like these articles kept coming out with the information that I was saying, and I wasn't keeping track of who I was saying what to. So it just was like, oh my God, like I can't trust anybody. I can't trust anyone. I can't talk to my friends because I don't know who's saying what. And then, you know, like that really forced me to confide in Tom in that crisis moment. And it also, you know, like I wasn't processing what happened. It was just like on this survival mode. And it really, truly felt like I was going to lose everything if I betrayed Tom in that moment.
In situations like this, when you go and you betray a lot of people that loved and trust you, sometimes those people, like some of her friends, are going to be empathetic for her in that sense to gain information. And it's sad that it happens, but it's true. It happens. And sometimes people will, you know, be hurt by what you did and want to hurt you back. And I think that maybe some of her friends maybe wanted to get the information to be able to leak it. And it's not right at all. Believe me, I would feel hurt by that too. And she has every right to feel hurt. I think this situation, though, opened her eyes wider to how social media is, how people can turn on you in the drop of a hat. And I believe that this will also give her a chance to learn how to trust the people that she can really trust and know who she can trust. And that is a lesson that she will take with her forever. Let's go to the last little bit of this and then we'll be done with it.
Yeah. And like Lala said, like, yeah, you're willing to risk it all for this person.
And
like
you
yeah.
know?
And I did. Yeah.
You did.
I really risked it all. And it's in ways I really lost it all.
You did, but you didn't. Sure.
Yeah.
You lost Vanderpump Rules. Who's to say you actually even lost it? You know, like, sure. But
That's
you gained
true.
a whole different perspective on your life, which I think is kind of the gold in all of this, you know?
I've come closer to who I am and knowing myself so much better now.
Does it bother you at all that throughout this episode they're calling you Raquel?
No, actually.
No,
I didn't even really notice. So it's just a nickname that I've had since first grade. So I respond to both Rachel and Raquel. In fact, it's a little bit weirder for me to hear people calling me Rachel that I've known for so long calling me Raquel. So it doesn't feel
bother
off to me at all. Yeah.
Okay. My last question is, you had a very strong relationship with Sheena. You had a really strong relationship with Ariana, Tom. Just reflecting back on this first episode, like, what is your rose and your thorn from it? Like, what is the one thing that like really hurts you? And what is the one thing that really makes you happy after watching that first episode?
Oh, wow.
Let's start with happy. Let's do good news.
Okay.
First.
Yeah. When I watch it, I'm just happy that I'm not in it. I'm so happy that I've been able to find more peace in my life, and my day to day is stable and as serene as it could be in this stage in my life, I believe. Like I don't have to worry about things that are coming up this season, or, well, that's not true. I do worry about things that are going to come up this season, but I'm just happy that I'm not in it like I used to be.
And then the thorn. What's the
thorn? It is hard seeing Sheena and Ariana, two people that I did call friends. I think I have a lot more resentment towards Sheena. So I think the thorn for me is just seeing Sheena's face. And, I'm working through that. And I think with time and more therapy and just more, I don't know, I don't want to always feel that way when I look at her. But I guess right now I just, it's not an enjoyable thing for me.
Are you continuing to watch the season, or are you going to take a step back?
I think I'm going to continue watching. I don't know how you guys felt watching it, but I was on the edge of my seat. But I think that's just because this has been a part of my life for so long.
Well, I can't believe they kind of ended it like that, but we'll see in chapter 7. I will address, so her first point was, how did it feel that they were calling you Raquel still? At this time, no one knew she had wanted to be called Rachel again. I want to point that out. This was when she was still at the Meadows, before that article came out saying that she wants to be called Rachel, and how it will release herself and yada, yada, yada. It's on my channel if you do want to see that. But I do want to point that out. This was before everyone knew she wanted to be called Rachel again. I'm also glad to see that her happiness is finding peace and not being on the show right now and staying positive, having a stable life again. Those are all great things. I mean, to find happiness again, that's wonderful. And maybe this wasn't for her. Maybe that's what the universe is trying to tell her. I mean, it's really up to her what she wants to do from here, but I'm happy where she's at. I'm happy she's growing and learning and taking accountability in this episode and being empathetic in this episode. I was very proud of her in this episode, to be quite honest with you. I will say she probably should have said one of her thorns was seeing how bad she really hurt Ariana and the pain she caused her, and just having to watch that. I know if I hurt one of my friends, which I want to point that out too, she says, the 2 people I did call my friends. So when she says, we were never friends, you just called her your friend. You guys were friends. And I know for me, I'm saying in my perspective, if I was to watch a show and see how I treated my friend and know that I hurt her and see the pain that she had, it would make me feel so bad about what I did to her. And I would have so much empathy for her and feel so vulnerable that I even allowed it to get to that. And I think that maybe should have been one of her thorns, but I'm not her. To say she doesn't even like seeing Sheena's face. Listen, you guys are going through a lot. You had a complete disagreement and she really did stick up for you. She was ride or die for you. Whether people like Sheena or not, Sheena really had Rachel's back, and Sheena was a great friend to her, and it's sad. I can also see Rachel's perspective because I've been hurt by friends, and now it's when I see their face, I just think wow, how could I have been friends with that person? Even how they are now, it makes me think, wow, I'm glad I'm not their friend. Who was this person? I don't even know them anymore. But this is chapter 6. I will be here with chapter 7. Stay tuned and make sure you are subscribed to my channel with notifications set to all, because I am going to be bringing you the Vile Files podcast with Mr. Tom Sandoval, where we can listen to him, be a fuckboy per se. It's going to be a very interesting podcast, and I can't wait to bring it to you guys. That will be next, along with game night. So make sure you like this video and you're subscribed to my channel, and I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will be back very, very soon. I'm just going to keep pumping these out for you. Have a great night, everybody.
Pretty on your arm once you cover up my bruises and battle scars, but it always ends the same. Can't bear the things I've had to face. Got you crying on your knees in pain. Oh, some things never